All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I'm Trey Gonzalez. I'm a product manager here at Variphy, and I'll be your host for today's live webinar. We're joined by my good buddy, Mike Stratton. He's a systems engineer here at Variphy. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Looking forward to demonstrating some migration here. So for today's session, we are going to demonstrate how easy it is to migrate your on-prem CUCM reporting to Variphy Cloud. Just a quick note that these webinars are always recorded and posted within 24 hours, so you can review them at any time. If you want to go back and review them, you can check out the webinars page at variphy.com. You'll see all of our past and upcoming sessions. And you can also find these videos on our YouTube channel if that's easier for you. All right, so on our agenda today, we're going to kick it off with a quick overview about Variphy, what it is we do, and then we'll jump into the demonstration where Mike will present the on-prem to Variphy Cloud migration. After the demo, we'll pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. I'm sure there'll be quite a few here today. So afterwards, if you have questions, please make sure to ask them in the chat. I'll be monitoring those, and I'll make sure to get all of them answered after the demo. Oops, sorry, I'm supposed to go back one more. After Q&A, we are going to give one lucky attendee a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang tight and see if you've won. Now, a little bit about us. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution tool for Cisco Call Manager, Contact Center Express, Cube iOS, WebEx Calling, Zoom Phone, and Microsoft Teams collaboration. Deployable either on-prem or as a hosted cloud solution, we provide industry-leading call reporting and analytics, as well as customizable dashboards and widgets. CUCM management modules like remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management are also available. Now, today we are going to be focused on the on-prem to Variphy Cloud migration. So if you have questions on any of the other features I just listed, please contact us. Support@variphy.com is where you can reach us, or you can reach out to your account manager if you're already a part of the Variphy community. Now, one more thing before we kick this off. For an additional fee, Variphy does offer an enhanced consulting service to our customers. Variphy's systems engineering team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, as well as report building, dashboard configuration, and system monitoring assistance. Now, this is a service that provides you with a dedicated Variphy systems engineer to do the heavy lifting. And this gives you a stress-free, hands-off experience. So for more information on that, please contact us or, again, your account manager, and we'd be glad to speak more in depth about the pricing and terms of service for our enhanced consulting services, or ECS. All right, now I think we can go ahead and get into the presentation. Mike, you want to take it away?
All right, 10 minutes as I'm sharing my screen. So first, thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. As Trey said, I'll be kind of demonstrating the upcoming cluster migration logic that's going to be included in 16.3, which should be available sometime in October. The migration logic is for customers and users who are migrating from an on-prem Variphy deployment to our cloud deployment. This session is more geared towards the Variphy SE team, as they should be and will be the ones who are going to be assisting with the migration. But for the customers and users who are on this webinar, definitely hang around so you can see what type of work they'll be doing and just kind of what it takes to migrate from on-prem to the cloud. And as Trey said, if there is any questions, feel free to ask. So what you're seeing here is like our migration, kind of like a lab that's set up. There's two servers. We have this server here, .214. This represents our on-prem Variphy deployment. I'll probably jump between calling it the on-prem or like the cloud collector. It's the same thing. It's the Variphy server that you've had running in your environment for months, years, and now you're migrating to the cloud. And so this server right here is our migration cloud instance where we're migrating off of this server and we're migrating to the cloud. So first things first, what you need or what the SEs need to migrate you off of the on-prem is you need to have the cloud deployment up and running, and then you have to be at 16.3. And once the cloud deployment is running, it should be licensed and everything up and ready to go. Your on-prem license key will need to be configured not just for cloud, but for cloud migration. So for the SEs, any account managers, you will need to have the license key updated to include the migration feature. So, and on the system, we have 2 clusters. We have the Mexico City cluster and the Colorado cluster. You'll recognize those from our other demo systems. This is just kind of like a copy of that demo system, and then it's kind of been minimized or shrunk down so that we can kind of quickly, show the migration within the 30 minutes we have here for today. So first things first, what do we do with the migration? Or second thing, I should say. First thing was the license key. Second thing is what we need to do is then go to, I was really kind of figure out how we're going to do the migration. So on the cloud system, on the on-prem system, we have a couple of decisions to make. One is what happens to the on-prem system after the migration, because when you move to the cloud, we still need a remote collector. So the call manager will push the CDR and CMR data to the remote collector, and the remote collector will then process the data and then encrypt it or use an encrypted connection to our cloud environment to push the data. So the thing is that are we going to maintain and keep the old Variphy server and turn it into the cloud collector, or are we going to deploy like a new clean OVA to use as the cloud collector? I guess one of the things to look at is with the old system, with some of those older Variphy systems, or just the ones that have been around for a while, they have a lot of extra disk space and a lot of like extra memory allocated to to handle the larger queries and the larger databases. If as a customer, if they no longer need that much memory and resources allocated to the server, then it might just be better to, once everything has been migrated, to shut down the old Variphy server and then to spin up a remote collector. You can do that first. You would set it up the same way you would any other remote collector, but I wouldn't turn it on until, everything has been migrated off of the old server. So once that's set up, and once you know what you're doing with the old server, whether you're going to decommission it or turn it into the collector, license key's been updated, then you're pretty much ready to go. So there's 2 parts to the migration. You're migrating the settings and the application and the cluster settings, and the second part is you're going to be migrating the database or the data, the CDR data from the old server to the new. So, okay, license key's up, ready to go. You've identified what you're going to do with the server. Next step would be come into under setup administration for your cluster. So go into clusters, go to platforms, CUCM clusters, and once it loads, it's going to bounce you back to the login screen. Yep, timed out. Get back in there. Once you get into the cluster settings, make sure to disable cloud processing, because we don't want it processing new data while we're doing all of this. So come into CDR processing, edit your cluster, and make sure this is toggled or turned off. If it's turned on, turned off, save the settings. You should see next to the cloud icon here, disabled and disabled. So we don't want anything new going up to the cloud once the cloud collect has been turned on or through the license key. So once this is ready to go, you're disabled. Next step would be to go under settings, and then under the system settings, you will see a new option for cloud migration. Go ahead and click it. Within this system, we already ran a test migration. So in this case, if you've already run a migration, it's going to show you your last attempt. You can see I ran it, was it yesterday morning. I already migrated 1 cluster with 4 users. It was successful. So you can see if it succeeds or if it fails. But we have one more cluster to go. So on a clean migration, you'll jump right into this screen. You're going to see a list of all the clusters that can't be migrated. So for the cluster to appear in this screen, it has to be supported by the cloud, by the cloud deployment, and it also has to be configured in your on-prem license key as a cloud instance as well. So it has to be a platform that's supported, and then also set up in the license key. So there's 2 parts. You have the cluster, so you can select 1 or more. We've already migrated Mexico City, which is why it's grayed out. But if you have like 10, 20 or more, clusters in the system, you don't have to do it 1 at a time. For today's demo, we already did 1. If you're doing like a slow migration, you can do them 1 or 2 at a time. It won't hurt anything. Each cluster is its own kind of unique entry in the system, so you can do 1 at a time if you need to. So first step, select the clusters you're going to migrate. In this case, we're just doing Colorado, And then you have your system settings. By default, on a clean install, these will all be turned on. These are like the more of the application, the global settings that aren't cluster based. You really only need to migrate these once. These were migrated with the Mexico City cluster. You can, if you re-enable them, it's going to overwrite whatever you already put up in there. So if you migrated once, 6 months ago, and you're still doing more systems or more clusters, you don't need to have these turned on. Only if you want to overwrite, what's already in the cloud verified deployment. So if you hover over the information icon there, this will show you what we're migrating. So widgets, dashboards, just different settings, the cradle to grave, label information, all the stuff that you see on under the application settings will be included as part of the migration. Report styles and settings, and then Webex chatbots if you want to migrate them to if they're available. So this is really it. For all the system settings, the bulk of the stuff is contained under here, and then you've got the cluster settings here as well. And this will also migrate users reports as well. And we'll go ahead and click next. So right now, what's happening is the Variphy application on the remote collector or on the on-prem Variphy system is just going through and it's gathering all of the information, all the settings, and it's kind of just putting them together and then getting them ready to send to what we have. It's called like the migration app. The migration app is not on the on-prem server. It's up in the cloud, the cloud environment. So once you click start migration, over here, we're go over the screen real quick. Well, first, it'll show you the cluster that we're migrating. So here's Colorado, the host, which is the IP address of the call manager, and then we're showing also under those other configuration settings what we're moving up to the cloud. So number of enterprises, user accounts, groups, the chatbot, email recipients, rate tables. We can see dashboards, widgets, report styles, rate tables, everything. Here's all the CUCM widgets. So this is everything that's coming across. So we don't, when you do the migration, the widgets and dashboards are not cluster specific. When you migrate, they're all brought over together because you can mix and match and for formatting with everything else. We do them all at the same time. So once I click start migration, it's going to start the cloud migration, and really everything else is now being done up in the cloud. Everything here is not, it's not happening on the on-prem server. So from the SC side, there really is no logging. The only thing that happens on this server is it gathers the data and then it sends it up to the migration app for the app to kind of do all the work for us. So it's in progress. You don't have to sit here. You can bounce around. You can come back. If you come back and it's still running, you'll see it's in progress, and this will keep running. You can go back if you want to see the migration. Click the active migration button, and then once it's done, and it's only take about a minute or two. This is a smaller cluster, and then it'll say complete. So hang on here. Give it a couple seconds. But yeah, as far as logging, there's a little bit of migration going on the logs, but you can see, I can see migration mentioned here, but really this is just it putting everything together. And there we go. They're both green, successful. So now the Mexico City cluster and the Colorado cluster have both been migrated to the cloud. If I jump into the cloud system here, we'll see it's migration.verify.cloud. You can see the cloud logo. We'll go ahead and maybe log me out. Nope. So here is, if I go under reports for, let's do Colorado. So there was one report in here today. I added a bunch of templates just to kind of give it a little bit more, a couple more reports to migrate. You can see there's Mike's report, the multi-cluster report on all the templates. If we go to the Colorado system up in the cloud, under reports, same reports, Mike's report, multi-cluster report, and all the templates. So we can see we've migrated the settings. The schedules come across too. And then on the dashboard side and widgets. So what you'll see when this is done is you'll get your dashboards here, and all the widgets that are supported and the platforms that are supported, you'll see here. Right now, there's no data in the database, so these widgets are just showing no data, but they are all here, all the CUCM widgets. If the dashboards have widgets that are other platforms that are not supported, so like here, this Cube copy dashboard has widgets that are for Cube. Right now, Cube is not currently supported in the cloud. It will be, I believe, in the near future or in the future. So what it does is, for formatting reasons and to keep the formatting of where the widgets were in the dashboard as accurate as it was back on the on-prem server, it's going to just import. It's going to switch the widget to be like an announcement widget that says, sorry, widgets are not currently supported in the cloud. To preserve the layout and appearance, it's going to be converted to announcement widgets, and then it says, you can safely delete this widget. So for formatting reasons, it's just going to have these widgets as part of the migration, and then you can go in and then delete them and then be all set. So, and yeah, I mean, so from the settings point of view, that's pretty much it. There's really a clean interface for the SE team when you get in here. It's just, yeah, I mean, kind of go over again, cloud migration. Once you're ready to go, cloud migration, and just click over the settings. There shouldn't be any cluster select because you can only do it once. So you can't just keep going back and migrating the same cluster over and over again because we don't want overwriting settings or overwriting the cluster settings. But yeah, I mean, you pick your clusters, move them to the right, pick the system settings, and then you're off and running. The next part is the CDR side. So that's a little more technical because there's not like a menu in the web application that you can use to basically dump the data out of the database. So the way that we would do this is there's a little program or a little basically a jar file that you can move to the server. And so for the SE team, there's documentation that'll be available for you to kind of go through and just follow the steps. But basically what we want to do is connect to the application server or the on-prem the cloud collect of the on-prem server. So we'll go ahead 10.20.30.214 and same way you will. Let me bring this back over. Use the standard verify admin login and whatever the password may be. And so first thing to do, there's a little, so the tool is called CDR DB stats. And there's three basically operations that the tool can do. One is it can list out the CDR databases that are found in the H2 config database. Two, it can extract the CUCM CDR and CMR files. And then three, it can give you like a list of stats on the database. So it can go out and query the databases found in the H2 database, and it'll produce like a small spreadsheet. This can be used for like prior to the migration, if you want to see how much data is in the database, the start and end dates. And this kind of helps when estimating, the size of the cloud system that you're migrating. You can run this before, and you can give the customer or the AM a better idea of how big the system's going to be. So the jar is available internally. You would want to copy it to the cloud collector or the old OVA system. And then the first step, or the first thing you want to do, is to identify the databases. So we have to identify which databases we're going to export the data from. So from the shell, I'm going to run this guy. Just copy and paste it from my notes. So copy and paste this. So this is the directory path. Let me bring up WinSCP. So for WinSCP, documentation just puts, here's the jar file right here. I put it, or the documentation has us put it in the home/verify admin directory. You don't have to, but you can put it right there. It won't hurt anything. You just need to know where you put it. And then once it's out here, run this command. So here's the path. Here's the file. So you're identifying where the file sits. The operations, the CD DB list, and then this is the connection to the H2 with the login. Enter, and it's going to run. give us some color on the screen, and then it's going to ask for the password. So put in the password to the H2 database, which is not the same password that we use for the Variphy admin account. And then once you enter it, it's going to come back with the results of your databases. So here's database 1. This is the database name is called cluster 1. This is the database for Mexico City. So we have the database server ID, which is going back. It is there's only one database server on this collector or on the on-prem deployment. So the default actually there's two, but there's only one in use. So the local MySQL one has both of our databases. So database server ID is 1 for the Colorado database called Colorado. You also have database 1 or database server 1 there, and then each database has their own ID. So when exporting the data, it's important to identify the server ID and the CDR database ID of 1 0 or 1 and 1. So once we've done that, and again, you can do one at either way. You have to do one at a time, but you can kick them off back to back to back. So once you've identified it, the next command is going to look like this. So let's down a little bit and then run this guy. So again, here's our path, jar file here. Now we're telling it to extract. Here's all the information for the H2. And this is the output directory. So basically what this tool is going to do is going to take your database and kind of take all of the CDR and CMR data within your database and reverse it and turn it back into CDR files. So when the tool runs, you have now your entire database has been dumped into a bunch of CDR files. And then when you turn cloud processing back on your collector or on your on-prem server, it's going to then process the data and then write it back to the cloud environment. So here's the output path. Here's my server ID of 1. Here's 1. My CDR DB server is kind of misleading. It's your CDR DB number, which is 0. So you can see 0 and 0. I'm exporting cluster 1 right now. And then there's a little parameter here called time. This is super helpful. When you add time to the parameter or to the command, it gives you an estimation of how much time you have left. So when talking, I know we're talking today internally about MySQL dumps and exporting data out of the database. When we run commands that take a while to run, we rarely have the ability to see how long it takes until it finishes. So by adding this, we can see, will this take 10 minutes? Will this take 30 seconds? Will this take 5 hours? So here's the command. Go ahead and run it. It's going to ask for the H2 verify password again. There we go. And now it's going to run. It's running the loop. And so by default, while this is running, and there's an estimated time, so it'll take about 24 seconds to finish. So here's the command. Let me bring this over here. So here's the command I just ran. There's other parameters too. So we can skip. So like if for some reason, when this runs, I'm not sure when it's done, but basically what this does is it's going to export the data in groups of 10,000. So each like CDR file will have 10,000 records in it. If for some reason you interrupt it, something happens, or if you just want to skip records from the database, you can come in here, tell it, change this value, add this value to the command, and then throw in a number here, and then we'll skip the first, in this case, 500,000 records, and just start exporting from there. So if you have to skip records for whatever reason, you can do so here. If you want to change how many records are fetched at a time, so instead of 10,000, if you want to do 5,000 or 30,000 or whatever, you can do it here. If you want all the records to be written to one file, I don't recommend it. If you want to, add the no bash parameter. If you want to retry it, you can. So like if it fails, it'll retry, in this case, 5 times before failing or before giving up. And then there's a time value here to estimate how much time is left. So in some cases, or like in a real world setting for the SEs, many times you are going to run this. And if it's a larger database, just keep an eye on it and wait till it finishes. So this finished in 18 seconds. The CMR data took less than a second. When it's done, if we go back to WinSCP here, back up, OPT, verify data, cluster 1, CDR, refresh. So here are my CSV files. So this, all of my data that's in my database, again, we kept it small for the demonstration. but all of my data is there. So now when I turn on, and I haven't done this in here, but we'll give it a shot, see what happens. If I turn on processing, in theory, this should write the data up to the cloud system. I haven't tried it. This is a demo system. We'll go ahead, and it may not do it, but give it a shot. I'm happy. See what happens. But yeah, and then you would just take the same file or the same command, go back up to your databases. That was right here. 1 and 1 for Colorado. Change it to 1 and 1. Copy, or cut in my case. Copy, and then paste. And so let's do, actually I don't want to do that one. We also want to change the path. Don't do what I just did. Change your path. Copy. Paste. Because if you don't change the path, then you're writing all of your cluster data for both clusters to the same folder, and then you're going to write Colorado's and Mexico Cities to the same cluster, and you don't want to do that. Change this password. And there we go. Smaller database. If we go back to OneSCP, you can see only like 20 files or 20 records per cluster. And yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Let's see this. Yeah, and they're there. Process cloud. Let's go back to Mexico City. Data summary, and we have data in the cloud. So yeah, the on-prem server processed those files that I exported, and then it's written into the cloud. So we're all set. So yeah, successful migration. Smaller systems only took us 20 minutes. On a larger system, most of your time is going to be spent waiting for that export to finish. So I'm good. Trey, I'll punt it back to you.
Awesome,
any questions?
Man. Yeah, that was great, dude. Honestly, I think it was so great that nobody had any questions.
Perfect.
You were incredibly thorough.
Perfect.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and just to kind of echo, I know we saw a few people jump in halfway through your presentation, but Mike, most of what you went over is mostly for our SE team. The purpose of today's call was just to show how easy it is for us to go ahead and do this for our customers. Walk them through the steps and maybe talk through how it all takes place, so they know what to expect essentially if they want to kind of move their reporting and data to the cloud. So yeah, thanks again for walking us through that. If anybody has questions here after the webinar or as we're closing up, feel free to shoot us an email, and we'd be happy to get those answered for you. Or you can just send all your messages to Mike directly. I'm sure he'd love that as well. All right, everybody. So let's wrap this up. Let's see here. Next week's webinar takes place on October 2nd. We got Mike again here with Brian. They're going to cover UCCX agent productivity, specifically how to report on your agents and understand any potential agent abuse. All right, and so that's pretty much the only announcement we have. My name is Trey Gonzalez, again, joined by my colleague, Mike Stratton. If you haven't already, feel free to add us on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with you. And yeah, I'll conclude today's webinar. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for joining.
Bye, everyone.